Since the late 1980s, the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad has been carrying on the tradition of steam railroading in the town of Cumberland. In 1992, the railroad restored steam locomotive 734 to pull trains over the scenic 17-mile route through the Allegheny Mountains of Western Maryland. Engine 734 has pulled thousands of tourists over the years to the delight of many young and old. The railroad has grown so much that in recent years, diesels have often been added to assist 734 on heavy trains. It was announced that 734 would be removed from service indefinitely following the 2015 excursion season for a federally mandated major overhaul of the locomotive. On January 11, 2015, Number 734 pulled one more winter photographer's freight train on a special excursion over the entire railroad. Come along with us as we experience Western Maryland steam. Western Maryland Scenic Railroad 734 steams up in the crisp morning air. 734 is a Baldwin 280 Consolidation originally built for the Lake Superior and Ishpeming Railroad in 1916. The locomotive ran in Michigan as number 34. After being restored, the locomotive was painted in the Fireball scheme to resemble the 280s that used to run on the Western Maryland. The Western Maryland Scenic Railroad's shops are in Ridgeley, West Virginia. Ridgeley is located along the north branch of the Potomac River across from Cumberland, Maryland, about 135 miles northeast of Washington, D.C. Inside the shop, former Chesapeake and Ohio 2662-1309 is being rebuilt. When completed, this locomotive will handle future steam excursions on the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad. Outside, the cold overnight temperatures have caused the coal loader to become jammed. A backhoe is brought in to loosen the conveyor belt. After several attempts, the coal loader is back in operation. The backhoe dumps coal into the hopper that feeds the loader. "734's main drivers are mired in a frozen puddle. The train crew chips at the ice. Eventually, a blowtorch is put to use to melt the ice under 734. Once the locomotive is freed, the crew moves it so the tender can be filled. With the tender full, the crew moves the locomotive to couple to today's train. The freight train includes a recently restored Western Maryland caboose 1813. The first run-by of the day is at Nobley Street Crossing in Ridgeley. The track in the foreground is part of the old Western Maryland main line to Baltimore. Today, it leads to a Y used for turning equipment. Once everyone is aboard, the train steams across the north branch of the Potomac River into Cumberland, Maryland. Founded in 1787 and nicknamed the Queen City, Cumberland was once the second largest city in Maryland and is the seat of Allegheny County. The Baltimore and Ohio was the first railroad to reach Cumberland in 1851. Eventually, the city became part of the vital rail link between Washington and Chicago. This line is still in use and is now part of CSX. "734 stops at the Cumberland station to take on water. The Western Maryland reached Cumberland in 1906. When the line was completed to Connellsville, Pennsylvania in 1912, the Western Maryland became an important link between the eastern seaboard and the Midwest. The Western Maryland Station was built in 1913. It still serves as the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad's main ticket office. The track along the Potomac River south of the station connects the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad to CSX and the outside world. Number 734 backs down this track to get in position for the second run-by. The track parallels a restored portion of the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal. For many years, Cumberland was a fall line town, the farthest point people and goods could travel upriver by water. Competition from railroads forced the canal to close in 1924, but portions have been preserved. We rejoin the train at Cumberland Station and ride it out of town. Northwest of downtown Cumberland, the old Western Maryland line follows Wills Creek through the Cumberland Narrows. In the late 1960s, the Western Maryland was merged into the Chessie system, which later became part of CSX. In the 1970s, much of the Western Maryland main line was abandoned in favor of the parallel Baltimore and Ohio line, which was also part of the Chessie system. The train stops in the Narrows for another run-by. The train continues northwest to Double Truss Bridge 1679, a Baltimore truss design with two 150-foot spans. The bridge crosses US 40, the national highway, and Braddock Run, a small stream that flows into Wills Creek. This bridge once held two tracks. Half of the bridge is now part of the Great Allegheny Passage Trail. Helmstedter's Curve is named for the family that owns the property surrounding the railroad in this location. This half-mile arc across Cache Valley is one of the most photographed spots on the Western Maryland right-of-way. 734 chugs up the 1.5% grade, making a second run-by at another spot on the curve.
No, we're good. Good? All right. That's beautiful. Okay, 734.
Brush Tunnel was completed in 1911, part of the Western Maryland Connellsville extension. We watched the first run-by from the top of the portal on the downhill side. Brush Tunnel is 914 feet long and once held 2 tracks. The space for the second track is now a bike trail. The train has backed up so we can watch another run-by at the opposite portal. "734 whistles as it approaches Brush Tunnel to warn any hikers or bikers in the area. There are signs posted advising people not to be in the tunnel when the train is present. The steam engine fills the tunnel with smoke as it passes through. The Western Maryland Scenic Railroad has operated tourist trains over this rail line since 1988. On operating days, there is typically one regularly scheduled departure from Cumberland to Frostburg and back. Trains run May through December. During the summer, trains usually run Thursday through Sunday. From late September through October, for the fall leaf season, the train runs every day of the week except Monday. For the remainder of their operating season, trains only run on the weekend. The train crew obliges us with several run-bys near Sunnyside. The stack talk echoing through the hills makes it easy to see why they call number 734 Mountain Thunder. With temperatures in the mid-30s, it's plenty cold enough for the steam to condense into beautiful white clouds as 734 charges up the mountain. In addition to the regular midday excursions to Frostburg and back, the railroad also operates many special event themed trains, including dinner trips, the annual Steel Wheels Festival, and the North Pole Experience. Number 734 steams around the curve at Cole Tipple. Large portions of the former Western Maryland main line are now a bike trail, but a 17-mile portion of the Connellsville extension between Cumberland and Frostburg was preserved. It is on this line that the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad operates. The line crosses under the one-lane Parkersburg Road Bridge. Near the town of Frostburg, the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad diverges from the original Western Maryland right-of-way and onto the route of the former Cumberland and Pennsylvania Railroad. Bridge number 2 carries the track over the old Western Maryland grade, which is now a bike trail. The train slows as it comes to the end of the line in Frostburg, Maryland. Mount Savage is in the distance. The Mount Savage Iron Works produced the first iron rails made in the United States. The original iron stove is a nice addition inside Caboose 1813, particularly on a cold winter day. The Cumberland and Pennsylvania Depot at Frostburg was built in 1891 and is the only survivor of 12 depots along that line. The depot was abandoned in 1973. The Western Maryland Scenic Railroad restored the depot in 1989. 734s cut off from the train and moved on to the turntable. The old Cumberland and Pennsylvania Railroad continued through a tunnel here. The portal can still be seen behind the turntable. The turntable was originally located on the Western Maryland in Elkins, West Virginia. Turntables were common in the steam era, but in modern times have become rare. Seeing one in action is a treat. (734) couples up to the caboose for the return trip. We are fortunate enough to get a cab ride for part of the trip. Though the light is fading and the weather has turned colder, 734 performs one more run-by at Brush Tunnel on the way back to Ridgeley. Operating a coal-fired steam locomotive is hot, dirty work. 734 has a mechanical stoker, but the crew is firing it manually on this trip to train one of the firemen. Number 734 has uncoupled to go turn on the Y. Number 7 retrieves the train and brings it back to the Knobley Street crossing. Seven pushes the cars back toward the yard. Having turned around, 734 comes back into view one more time. With the engine going out of service at the end of the 2015 season, it's unknown when a scene like this might be repeated. We hope you've enjoyed coming along with us on this special winter excursion on the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad. Take a trip on the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad for yourself and experience the beauty of the steam in the mountains of Western Maryland.